Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Destiny video. Um, this time we're going to take a foray into um, gameplay analysis. So we've done deck analysis, we've done actual games. Now we're going to do gameplay analysis. And we're going to focus on battlefields. Uh, there's lots of discussion about this. I don't find most of it to be very decent, mainly because it's such a complex topic and it's hard to come up with a good scenario for explaining it. Hopefully, I'll do a good job, but we'll find out. Um, First, the, the the broad generics of claiming. Um, you have to weigh the math of how much do I gain from claiming and how much do I lose from claiming. If after you've done that math, claiming is appears to be better, outweighs the risks, the loss, and you claim. If not, then you don't claim. Pretty simple. So what are the things that you're going to gain from claiming? One, most obvious, you get the effect. Um, Whatever it says. This one I would get to use pose dice to do force throw. Right, pretty strong effect. Uh, Not as obvious. Or also basically just as obvious. Your opponent doesn't get to use the claim effect. That's good. Not as obvious. Uh, you get to start next turn. Starting next turn is like you have to weigh how good that is for you. I have a card in my hand called Force Misdirection. Pulling out first next turn means that I'm going to have a card that I can spot for that removal card. That's big. That enables that removal. If you have defense positions and dug in your deck, you need the battlefield to play those. Those are good effects. Um, Keep those in mind. Starting with battlefield next turn is a big deal. Um, Negatives. You leave stuff on your board state you can't take any more actions. So what actions could you have taken that you can't if you had claimed, or if you that you can't because you claim? One, I want to get this resource. Um, if it wasn't this site and some other site, I might leave out this Poe Disrupt, which could remove his resource over here. Um, those are things that I won't get to do. Those are actions that I won't get to do. I won't get to use my Field Medic while I have the resources and draw more cards. Things like that. Um, Pretty basic. That's a negative of claiming. Another negative claiming. What are you allowing your opponent to do? What is on your opponent's board? Well, look, he has one ranged over here and 2+2s over here. That is 5 damage sitting on the board that will kill Rey. Um, that's pretty obvious that that's not a good thing. Um, uh, Less obvious things that you have to weigh. Potential board state. What is your potential for rerolls? If I reroll here, maybe I reroll into the 3 damage. Uh, that could be pretty good. Uh, what potentials are you giving up by claiming? Uh, Also, same line of thought. What potentials are you allowing your opponent to reroll into? So if I do, for example, claim here and throw this die, or throw like this die or something, what can he reroll into? Like that would make a good board state for me, but what could he potentially get? You need to weigh the odds of that. Um, and I can't stress this enough. You don't claim early if your opponent has dice and cards. Um, if your opponent plays well, he should discard, uh, because discarding is the way that you can punish a claim. It's something that is very important to this game. It's something that if you're not discarding to reroll after your opponent claims, then I don't think you're playing the game right. Um, we'll talk more about that later. So yeah, those are some broad, very broad overviews of how to weigh the benefits of claiming. But now let's look at a specific scenario. So we have an interesting board state. They just rolled out the Night Sister into this 1 damage, which has now made these dice over here a very big threat. What do I do? Well, a pretty obvious choice here would be to claim for Emperor's Throne Room, change this to special, force throw, and maybe throw, this +2 over at the Night Sister, right? I eliminate that die, I eliminate the character, and he can no longer kill Rey, right? Well, not so much. He has 2 cards in his hand, right? That's pretty good. If he rerolls, if you look at Beers here, he needs to get a single black side to enable this. He has a 1 in 3rd odds at getting a black side here. That's pretty decent, especially when he has 2 dice and 2 rerolls. And then once he's gotten at least 1, then he has 3 sides. It enables hit Beers +2. So pretty good odds of actually getting at least 3 damage from Veers here. Not to mention this die. This die has a +1 on it. Not very good odds that he rolls it, but it could help. It also has a focus, right? And a focus means a guaranteed 2 black on one of the Veers dice. So there's like a 1 in 3 of these dice help him kill me. With 2 rerolls, he probably kills Ray here. So by claiming right then, doing this potentially good play, I've let Ray die. Now, is there another scenario? And before we move on to this, I want to point out something. Even though he only has 2 cards, and as I said earlier, or I don't know if I said it, but when your opponent has less cards, it's much harder to guess whether he will reroll. Why? Because he could have 2 cards like this. He has a DH17, which would be good to play next turn. He really wants to get more upgrades out. And he has an Isolation. Isolation is really good against Poe. He wants to keep it so that next turn he can isolate my die. He probably wouldn't because Night Sister will end up dying, so he'll probably at least reroll this, but you don't know what's in his hand. You don't know how good it is. You don't know whether he'll want to discard these cards. But all that aside, if you are the Veers player, and I do decide to claim and force throw this, and you have these 2 cards in your hand, discard them. You have to punish me for what I just did here. Yes, it's tempting to take this 1 resource, play the DH17 Blaster Pistol, and then move on to next turn, maybe discard the Isolation ones to reroll, right? Maybe he does. He discards Isolation because he lost his blue character. But then he misses, and he's like, aw man, I'll just take a resource and, play my DH17. Don't do that. Reroll. Reroll your dice. If you miss the first time, who cares? Go for it the second time. The potential benefits and the odds there are too good to not take them. Now, let's rewind. What else could have happened here? Well, Field Medic. Field Medic seems like a decent option. It puts me out of kill range for the 5 damage. Remove a couple health here. And now my opponent's like, okay, I better deal this damage while I have it showing. I don't want to risk him removing it. For whatever reason, he decides to deal 5 damage to you. Now what do you do? Well, another pretty obvious thing. Claim here. I get to start next turn. I get to force throw one of his dice. I'd probably force throw the resource here at the Night Sister, right? And kill the Night Sister. That's a good result. It's already better than last time. I saved Ray and I killed the Night Sister. However, if you look at these dice, how can he kill you with 2 rerolls? It's close. He has a 1 in 6 odds of killing with this die, and he has a 1 in 6 odds of killing with this die because the focus means the 2 damage on Veers. So if he rerolls twice, he has 2 times where he's rolling 2 dice at 1 in 6 odds. There's also another potential. There's the potential of him rolling a +1 and Veers rolling a 1. Very unlikely that would happen. That's a 1 in 36 odds. So we'll just ignore that for now. So you have 2 1 in 6 odds twice. I'm not going to do the math. That's actually pretty decent. It's sitting up in the range where I'd say that it's going to happen sometimes, right? So if I'm going to play a consistent play that's going to make me win more tournaments, going to make me win more games, I can't risk that. Yes, getting the battlefield is potentially really good for next turn, but losing Ray a turn earlier is worse. So I don't claim and force through here. What else do I do? Well, it so happens that I can force misdirect on resources and remove this die. Now, my opponent probably claimed. He's like, he has a Poe dice, I can't well, actually my opponent might isolate, but we'll just ignore that possibility for now. He might claim to block my potential Poe dice, and so that he gets to go next turn. Maybe he had it dug in his hand that he couldn't have played this turn. For whatever reason, he might decide to claim. Or he rerolls twice because he still wants to kill Ray. Well, now my opponent might be thinking, well, he hasn't claimed all this time. He probably doesn't have a good claim for effect, so that might even make him more likely to reroll. Well, he rerolls, and even if he rerolls into damage, at this point I claim, I force throw, and I kill the Night Sister. That is ultimately, I believe, the best pass through this scenario, is the path where I have it. At both the earlier points, I have the option of claiming and force throwing and killing that Night Sister. But at both those points, the 2 discards in his hands are too much of a threat. They are really decent odds at killing Ray, and I want Ray to live. So I'm going to play the consistent strat where I field Ray, I force misdirect, and I keep my Ray alive. Now, one thing that I cannot stress enough. If you are playing and your opponent claims, discard, reroll. You have to offset the benefit that your opponent gets from claiming. Oftentimes your opponent will claim too early. When your opponent claims, he gets a benefit. He gets the start next turn, he gets the claim effect. That's not good for you. You just lost some points in the swing of this game. You need to take those points back. You need to take that momentum back. How do you do that? You discard, you reroll, you use your free actions. I know that sometimes you're going to have good cards in your hand. I don't care how good they are. Discard them, reroll. Trust your deck. If you have a force throw in your hand, that's extremely good with Poe, right? If he claims here. But if I discard and reroll, let's say I still have a resource, I have 1 1/3 odds of getting like a damage here. Oh look, I just got 3 damage. That is so huge, right? And even though I got rid of this force throw next turn, maybe I draw a 1 with force. Maybe I draw a mind probe. By discarding this card, I'll have more chances at drawing cards that can replace it anyways. There's a player in Twin Cities, Will Klein, who does this really well with his Vader Raider. He plays slowly against my Poe Ray deck. I'm doing action cheating. I'm getting out there quickly. I'm playing upgrades on Ray so that I'm taking my actions quickly. I resolve some dice, and I'm sitting out there, and I'm sitting in this scenario where I have a couple dice remaining, and I can claim for a force throw and force throw one of his Vader dice. Problem being, he then has another Vader dice and a Raider dice, and 4 cards in hand, right? At that point, I can't claim, because that means that every time he's going to be like, discard, reroll, discard, reroll, discard, reroll, discard, reroll, and now he deals anywhere from 3 to 6 damage to me. And if I claim every turn, and every time I claim, he deals 3 to 6 damage to me, obviously that's not a winning strategy. Whatever I'm gaining from the battlefield is not enough to make up for this, giving him free rerolls. So if I had to point out one thing with battlefields and one thing with just average players that maybe keeps them from being, they go 3-1 in a lot of tournaments, but this will keep them from getting, a 4-0. This is one of those factors, is they don't abuse their opponent's mistake of claiming early. So yeah, if your opponent claims early, discard a reroll. And if you're thinking about claiming, consider the effects of his rerolls. Yeah, so that was my video. How do you think it was? If you disagree with anything, feel free to comment in the comment section below, and feel free to like or subscribe. Anyways, until next time.